When an avoidant rejects you, ends things with you, or pulls away so completely that it feels like a rejection, the silence that follows hits you instantly. But for them, the truth unfolds slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. You feel the grief right away. They don't. You feel the shock, the betrayal, the abandonment. They feel relief, not because losing you is easy for them, but because the emotional intensity of closeness finally stops overwhelming their nervous system. People assume that avoidants walk away without a second thought, that they forget you quickly, that rejection means you didn't matter. But the reality inside their emotional world is far more complicated and far more painful than it appears. Avoidants don't reject you because you were insignificant. They reject you because the closeness triggered something in them they weren't ready to face. And after they push you away, after they tell themselves it's better this way, after they create distance to feel safe again, they enter the first stage: numbness, emotional shutdown, a false calm. They tell themselves they made the right decision. They feel a wave of relief that the pressure is gone. The expectation, the vulnerability, the intimacy, all of it feels like weight lifted off their chest. This is not because you were too much. It's because their childhood taught them that needing someone is dangerous, that depending on someone leads to pain, that intimacy exposes them to abandonment, rejection, or disappointment. When they walk away, their nervous system relaxes. They can breathe again. Not because they didn't care, but because caring felt overwhelming. So at first, they genuinely believe they're okay. They distract themselves. They dive into work. They scroll endlessly. They shut off the emotional switch. They go into survival mode, not reflection. Meanwhile, you're spiraling, trying to understand what went wrong, replaying conversations, questioning your worth, feeling the loss immediately because your system processes emotions in real time. Avoidants don't. Their feelings come later, much later. But then, slowly, quietly, the second stage begins. The cracks. The moments where they notice your absence without wanting to. The places where you used to exist in their life start to feel empty. Something reminds them of you. A song, a routine, a joke, a memory. And a small ache appears, a feeling they quickly push away. This is when their mind tries to rewrite the story. It was for the best. I don't need them. It wasn't that serious. I'm fine. But the story never holds for long, because the truth is that avoidants feel more in your absence than they ever allowed themselves to feel in your presence. And then the third stage hits. Curiosity. Not emotional, but behavioral. They check your profile. They watch your stories. They check your last scene. They wonder if you're okay. They want to know if you moved on. They want to know if you're hurting or if you're healing without them. They don't reach out, not because they don't care, but because reaching out requires vulnerability, something they're allergic to. So they watch from a distance, convincing themselves they're simply checking, when really it's the beginning of missing you. This missing is not soft. It's not immediate. It's not a romantic longing. It's fear meeting memory. It's the slow realization that the connection they pushed away is not as easily erased as they hoped. And then comes stage 4, emotional discomfort. They start to feel restless, irritated, confused. They don't understand why they're thinking about you randomly, why certain moments feel emptier, why silence feels heavier, why distractions aren't working like they used to. This is the stage where their defenses begin to weaken. Their body starts to feel what their mind suppressed. They catch themselves wondering what you're doing right now. They remember moments you shared. They replay things you said. They think of your softness, your presence, your warmth. They don't call, they don't text, but internally, something is shifting. This is the moment where many avoidants feel the first sting of regret. Not the full regret, but the awareness that the connection mattered, that you mattered. And then comes stage 5, the delayed emotional crash. This is the moment they finally feel the loss. Avoidants process emotions like echoes. They feel the pain after the moment has already passed, when it's finally safe, when there's distance, when the threat of closeness is gone. Missing you hits them when they least expect it. In the shower, on a long drive, late at night when they can't sleep, in the quiet moments when their distractions run out. This is when their heart finally catches up to yours. This is when they feel the consequences of their distance. This is when they start wondering whether pushing you away protected them or cost them something irreplaceable. But the pain they feel now is laced with shame. Avoidants struggle deeply with shame. They feel ashamed that they hurt someone who cared for them, ashamed that they ran away, ashamed that they didn't know how to show up, ashamed that they're missing you after acting like you didn't matter. And this shame becomes another wall. It prevents them from reaching out even when they want to. Instead of apologizing or reconnecting, they withdraw further, trapped in a loop of longing and self-protection. This is why avoidants rarely come back during the emotional crash. Their feelings rise, but their shame rises with it. And then comes stage 6, longing. The kind of longing they don't admit to anyone. The kind of longing they only feel when they're alone. They remember your voice, your laugh, your presence, the way you made them feel seen without demanding too much. The comfort, the warmth, the safety, the version of themselves that existed when you were near. But avoidants don't translate longing into action. Longing scares them. Missing you terrifies them. So instead of reaching for you, they reach for control. They stay silent. They wait for the feeling to pass. And here is the most heartbreaking part. Avoidants often miss you the most when you finally stop trying. Because when you stop reaching out, when you stop asking for clarity, when you stop trying to save the connection, the pressure that overwhelmed them disappears. Their nervous system relaxes, and suddenly, they can feel. And the feeling is, I miss them. I pushed away someone who cared. I lost something real. That's when the deep regret hits. The delayed regret. The quiet regret. The regret they won't show you. But regret doesn't automatically become action. Avoidants often wish they could come back, but they don't know how. They fear rejection now. They fear consequences. They fear facing the pain they caused. They fear needing you again. So they stay silent while drowning in the feelings they tried to avoid. And finally, stage 7, the return impulse. This is when avoidants think about reaching out. They type a message and delete it. They rehearse what they'd say. They check your profile more often. They wonder if you'd even answer. They imagine seeing you again. They imagine what they'd tell you. They imagine feeling safe with you again. But the impulse rarely becomes action unless something shifts inside them, unless healing begins. Avoidants don't return because the connection meant nothing. They return because the connection meant too much. They return when the fear softens enough to let desire speak. They return when the longing finally outweighs the panic, They return when the distance makes them realize what closeness could have been. But here is the truth you must hold gently. What happens inside an avoidant after rejection has nothing to do with your worth. Their numbness wasn't proof you were forgettable. Their silence wasn't proof you were unlovable. Their distance wasn't proof you were unimportant. It was fear. Old fear. Childhood fear. Nervous system fear. You did not imagine the connection. You did not imagine their feelings. You did not imagine the moments where their guard slipped and their heart showed. Avoidants feel. They just feel late. They feel quietly. They feel in the places they never show. And their regret arrives like winter. Slow, cold, undeniable. But your healing cannot wait for their timing. You cannot pause your heart for someone who runs from what they want. You deserve someone who doesn't realize your worth only after losing you. Someone who doesn't push you away to feel safe. Someone who doesn't let fear lead them. Someone who chooses closeness instead of distance. Someone who doesn't need to reject you to feel in control. And if this touched something quiet inside you, if it softened a place that's been tense for too long, if it helped you breathe again, stay here. There are more truths, more stories, more soft nights like this. Welcome to Attachment Alchemy Lab. You're safe here.